Good morning, friends. Brian the Geek here, and here we are again, another great Wednesday. Time to watch Kenobi. I don't really have any major predictions. I really have no idea where the show is going to go from here. We may, I presume, start getting the build-up to the big major climactic fight between Kenobi and Vader. Maybe we'll also get, the wrap-up of Leia's story. I'm going to predict again that the Grand Inquisitor is going to come back because I think he's coming back before the end of the series, so it could well be today. And I think we might wrap up kind of what's going on with the path and all that kind of stuff. I don't think we'll necessarily introduce a lot of new characters at this point. I think we've got to get the story kind of wrapping up and moving towards its big end game. I don't think we'll see Qui-Gon in this episode. I think that's going to be a finale thing. I don't think we'll be going back to Tatooine. So that's really all maybe the vague predictions that I've got, because I really have no idea. I don't even know, as far as like some of the rumored spoilers and stuff, what could happen in this episode. Most of what I know is theoretically for the next episode, and some of that may have changed. You can check out my video, titled something like Reva is getting a season 2 ? Because they may have changed some of the ending and some of the spoilers that we had. Who knows? Who knows? But anyway, I'm just excited to get into Kenobi, so let's go. Alright, so just finished Kenobi, episode 5. Holy moly, what an episode. Genuinely love this episode. I think I've actually loved this episode more than episode 4. And this might be my favorite episode so far. Very, very cool to see where it's going. Shocker, there actually is a plan to the storytelling. Who would have thought? Things make sense. They have not broken canon. Oh my goodness, crazy. But let's get into it. Obviously, episode opens. We get finally what a lot of people have been really clamoring for, and that is flashbacks to Clone Wars era. It actually looks like it's pre-Clone Wars era. It looks like more in kind of the episode 2 type era, with Padawan Anakin fighting Obi-Wan in a training match. And this goes on throughout the entire episode. We see kind of the strengths and the weaknesses of Anakin and his desperate need to win, how that can be his undoing, and it really parallels what's going on in kind of the present timeline of the show really nicely. I liked this. It's a great way to get Obi-Wan and Anakin interacting together in kind of that prequel trilogy timeline, as well as reflecting on the storytelling now. So I really enjoyed that. I felt like Obi-Wan looked almost exactly the same as he did in Attack of the Clones. You could see, that Hayden has aged a little bit. Didn't really bother me. That's just kind of the nature of when you shoot something 20 years later. I'd prefer that to there being some really janky, crazy de-aging where everything just looks overly smooth and plasticky. I really don't enjoy that kind of look. I feel like that's just more distracting, so I did not mind that Hayden looked a little bit older. I liked the performances in this scene. I felt like, they were maybe a little bit different than how they performed in Attack of the Clones, but it was close enough that, it didn't suck any kind of enjoyment out of it. It was just like, dude, we're here, and I'm somebody who has gone on the record on my channel being like, I don't really need flashbacks. Like, it's whatever, I'm fine either way. But it was really cool to see. And if this is the only time we go back to kind of that Clone Wars or, pre-Clone Wars era in the series, I'm good with that. Like, it satisfied me. And then we go into Reva having a meeting with Vader, where she reveals that Kenobi's on Jabeam. And then we go to Jabeam and see that there's a lot of rebels and civilians and stuff like that. We get some emotional conversations with Tala about some of the war crimes that she'd committed under the Empire and how that had eaten her up and how she wasn't able to move past it, and that's why she was doing what she was doing. and you know, they were all planning to leave, and then the Empire comes. Lola sabotages their escape route. They've got, you know, these hangar doors that Lola closes and they can't get them open. So little Leia's gotta go and try and figure out how to solve it in a little service duct. And so she's doing that most of the episode, but that creates the tension of we can't get out and the Empire's coming and this could be really bad. And there was that little like warning at the beginning of the episode about like there could be some scenes that are disturbing to some viewers. And in my brain I was like, oh my goodness, are they gonna like massacre all these people in this episode? That would be dark. And so I had that extra tension from that little warning, because I was like, how dark are they gonna go? What are they gonna do here? Then the Imperials land with Reva under her command as Grand Inquisitor, and they start lighting up the doors and trying to get through. And you know, there's a lot of different little tension. And then Obi-Wan decides to negotiate with Reva, and they have a conversation that really breaks open her motivations. And finally, we understand why she is the way that she is. And it's because she never was actually loyal to the Empire. She was, as we suspected, one of the younglings in the Jedi Temple. And she saw all of her friends get slaughtered by none other than Anakin Skywalker. And she played dead in order to survive. And she never was actually loyal to Vader. So her plan this whole time had been to get close to Vader in order to kill him. You know, Obi-Wan obviously tells her, that's not gonna go well, you're not gonna be able to kill him. She's so bitter, she's not even willing to hear it. She says the interesting line of, do you really want Anakin dead? Questioning Obi-Wan's motives, and you see him like really thinking about, is that actually what Obi-Wan wants? Does he actually want to kill Anakin? You know, that's really interesting. I think that that's gonna be something that's set up and pays off in the finale for sure. I think that's going to be a major challenge that Obi-Wan faces. Does he actually want to kill Anakin? Does he actually want to kill Vader? And obviously we know from A New Hope that he has not, and that he does not. So clearly he's going to get to a point where he doesn't actually want to kill Vader. He's not willing to kill Vader, or Vader's just going to overpower him. I'm not really sure which, but kind of my presumption is he may win against Vader in the finale, but decide to let him live, see some good in him, maybe pay off that line in episode 6 where Vader says to Luke, Obi-Wan once thought as you do, that there was some good in Vader. I'm not really sure exactly, but that's kind of my prediction at this point. But so they have this conversation, you see some tastefully done Order 66 flashbacks with Hayden Christensen as Anakin going through hacking up some younglings. I thought that it was appropriately and as tastefully as you could done, because that, you know, that is a sensitive topic. You know, I know there are some people in the Star Wars community that literally just wanted to see Anakin going crazy, killing all the younglings, but I personally found that it was a really, really well done sequence. You know, flashing back and forth, the quick little imagery. I really liked that personally. I forgot to mention earlier that Haja returned. He found his way to Jabim after the events of episode 2. So that was kind of fun to see him back. See him kind of trying to do better. He ended up being Leia's babysitter, if you will. He was not happy about that. That was kind of funny. Enjoyed seeing him again. I thought that was kind of a nice little touch. Add a little bit of humor to an otherwise fairly dark episode. After Reva and Obi-Wan had their little negotiation, if you will, Reva stabs through the door, you know, slices it open, stormtroopers come in, big crazy battle. My only minor complaint here is I feel like there should have been a lot more dead rebels, but we lost a few faces that I recognized that they focused on, some kind of nameless rebels, but a lot more Imperials, and at that close of range, I feel like the Imperials would not have missed that much. We did have a couple of major losses. We lost Ned B, and we lost Tala, which was actually pretty sad. I didn't expect to necessarily feel that much, but Tala we've obviously had since episode 3, quite a bit in episode 4, and she bit the big one in this episode. Quite a nice heroic ending with a thermal detonator blowing up a lot of stormtroopers. We kind of figured, like I thought she was gonna bite the big one in the last episode, so I'm not mad that she bit the big one in this episode. I thought it was a very nice, good emotional ending fitting of her character. So we took some major losses there. Obi-Wan and the surviving rebels got behind some more blast doors, but you know, Obi-Wan knew Vader's coming and it's gonna be real bad, and so Obi-Wan chose to surrender. He had another conversation with Reva, kind of trying to talk Reva into standing up against Vader, and it seemed like that wasn't working, and then Obi-Wan is taken inside. So Vader comes down, you know, he asks, "Where's Kenobi?" And, you know, Reva says he's secured inside. Then we see Obi-Wan is not secured inside. He's somehow broken free, maybe some Jedi mind tricks, who knows, but he's taken down stormtroopers and escaping. Then we have Leia. Lola comes out. We see Lola's bad, and Leia's able to get the restraining bolt off of Lola and kind of get Lola back to her normal self. I thought that was a little bit of a simple solution, but with everything else going on in the episode, it's totally forgivable to have that not be a major complicated plot point. Vader goes inside. We see Reva kind of giving him that evil eye. We assume she's going to be going after him. Leia is able to finally get the doors open. Everybody hustles onto the transport. Obi-Wan makes it back in. He and Leia reunite. Very sweet moment. And looks like everybody's getting onto the transport. Vader comes in. Ship's taken off. And Vader does the really crazy, like, force, you know, reach and starts pulling the ship back the way that Ahsoka did, trying to get Maul with the shuttle back. And we saw, you know, Rey and Kylo do in the Rise of Skywalker, and you can just, it gives you a sense of how crazy powerful Vader is, because that ship is much bigger than either of those, and he actually manages to set that thing down. Then he starts like ripping it apart, and I'm like, holy crap, this is gonna be crazy. But then we see another ship take off that's actually the correct transport ship. So they kind of pulled one over on Vader. I don't have a problem with that. I thought it was a great moment, but the good guys for now have escaped. Then we have Reva come in, and Vader knows what she's up to. She tries to kill Vader, and he just is like sidestepping her. He's not even drawing his lightsaber at first. He's just toying with her, and you know, she's going full out trying to take out Vader and failing very miserably. And they have a little bit of a fight where Vader's in complete control the whole time. There's never a moment where, even if I didn't know that Vader was, you know, gonna be continuing on in future movies, I was never like, yeah, Vader's gonna die. I'm like, yeah, Reva's gonna, like, she's gonna die. And I was actually really wondering, is she actually gonna die? And like all the kind of leaks and stuff that have come out about what she might be doing, or if there's gonna be a Reva show, or all these different things. I'm like, oh, was that wrong? Am I just gonna have to be like, well, that video was really awkward to make? And she was indeed stabbed. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is it for Reva. And then Grand Inquisitor walks in, very, very smug, taunts the heavily injured Reva. Vader taunts her. They leave her, which, you know, I know is just so that she can continue on, but it's kind of like, I don't feel like Vader would actually leave her, but, you know, they gotta have a little bit of plot armor on their characters for the story they're trying to tell. But Vader and the Grand Inquisitor leave her. Essentially, they presume to die in the dirt. Classic mistake that you wouldn't think Vader would make, since he was left to die in the dirt and survived. But nice to see the Grand Inquisitor back. Loved seeing just so much of Vader's power exemplified in this episode, from just how intimidating he was, to being able to bring the ship down, to being able to just fight Reva so easily, completely toy with her, where she never even had a moment of chance. It heightens the stakes for the final confrontation between Kenobi and Vader that we're sure to have in the next episode. There's no way that they're not doing a full-out rematch between Obi-Wan and Vader. And as we saw in this episode, they absolutely can do, you know, great fight choreography. The fight choreography in that Obi-Wan Anakin duel, where they were, you know, sparring and practicing, absolutely fantastic choreography, very reminiscent of the prequels. In my opinion, I'm not a professional choreographer, but I thought it was, you know, quite good, quite reminiscent of the prequels. And I think we're gonna get something pretty crazy, pretty wild in the finale. You know, a lot of people were disappointed after episode 4. They're like, there's not gonna be any flashbacks, there's not gonna be anything, Anakin sucks, everything sucks, ugh. You know, I thought this episode, even if that is how you felt, it's not how I felt, but even if that is, I feel like this episode should have restored some level of confidence to you about how this show is going to wrap up. And I think we're gonna have a pretty satisfying ending. And, you know, we see injured Reva find Obi-Wan's little communication device that Haja dropped, and, you know, now she knows about Luke. So I think it's very likely that some of the spoilers, I'm not going to go into what they are, but some of the spoilers that were reported may in fact be true with what happens there. I'm going to be interested to see how it kind of ties up, because obviously she's not in Vader's good graces anymore. I'll be really interested to see how the story plays out and what she's gonna do, and really cool to see young Luke again, even if it's just for like one shot of him sleeping. I'm excited to see how this show wraps up. I think I'll leave it here for this video. We'll see kind of what goes on this week, if I'm able to make more content. I just released a video with an interview with Hayden with Screen Rant, and I'm gonna be releasing another one with an interview that also dropped yesterday with The Hollywood Reporter that has a lot of really interesting stuff in it as well. So with all that said, consider subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next video.